What is Gong meditation? In the Eastern world, the Gong was explicitly for meditation. You would go to the temple and the Gong would be played in meditation. In the Western world, it kind of came in different back doors, and of course it came in through our music. The Gong first appeared, in the Western world around the 18th century in classical compositions. And then in the 1960s, in some of the rock and roll bands, they made the gongs even more popular. And so we have this association in the Western world, initially with music, and then as it got into the yogic world, through Kundalini yoga and other yogas, we found that it was mostly used for relaxation. And eventually, with sound healers, we started to move into the therapeutic applications of the gong, and so gong therapy. But the idea of Gong meditation sometimes, and at least in our current Gong culture in the West, doesn't really focus a lot on Gong meditation. And I think several reasons. One reason is that some people aren't really too sure what Gong meditation is and how you actually hold space or use the Gong effectively when meditating. Most of us were introduced to the Gong during relaxation. You perhaps went to a yoga class or sound healing session, and all of a sudden you're just lying there and you hear this beautiful sound of the Gong, and it has a profound effect. And it does. It can be very profoundly affecting in relaxation and in therapy. But it's a little bit different than when we're using it for meditation. What is Gong meditation in terms of distinguishing it as a separate area of study and practice and application? There's several things that make something a Gong meditation. There's three components of playing the Gong or experiencing the Gong that can help to create a meditative state. Why were the gongs originally used? Some people say they were created for ritual and for ceremony, indeed. But actually, most of the applications of it at some point was to awaken the higher consciousness, the higher intelligence, the higher chakras, to use the gongs in a way to tap into deep intuition, and you might even say the ability to foresight or prophecy, awakening the sixth chakra and the seventh chakra, which the Gong does really well, just naturally. If you don't even try to meditate, if you're just in a room where Gong is being played, there's going to be some activation of the higher centers if you're just patiently listen to it and engage with it. So in some ways, the Gong is an automatic producer or facilitator of the meditative state just by simply hearing it without doing very little else. And that's why I think it's such a powerful instrument for us to be using in this time, because many people have a difficult time with meditation, well, also relaxation. But the Gong can really help facilitate that process by the way it interacts with the energy body and the movement of energy through the chakras and through the system. So it's a great resource. But to really maximize the effect of Gong meditation, we should really examine why it does what it does. One of the things the Gong does is that it moves energy. It moves prana, as the yogis say. There's a pranic exchange between the sound of the Gong and the listener through the player. And in yoga, they say, prana is really also the mover of thoughts. Thoughts are just basically that energy in motion a lot of times we have. A thought comes, a thought goes, and the thoughts keep moving through the mind, usually as a result of the activity of the prana. Sometimes the prana is very relaxed and neutral and quiet, and sometimes it's very ragged and quick and distracting. So just at that one level of how the thoughts begin to change, the mind begins to change, is because the Gong starts to create that underlying change in you through how it interacts with the movement of energy or prana when you hear the sound. So that's kind of the foundation for it. It supports it. You can start to meditate without the Gong, but honestly, it can be much easier and deeper to meditate with the Gong.